Greetings, you bunch of turn-cloaked turnbuckles. I have returned by my lonesome. That's right, another solo episode. You probably already knew, you saw how long it was. There's only so long I can hear the sound of my own voice and not go crazy. I mean, that's not true. Let's be honest. I could do this all day. Okay, episode 106. But first, wait. Before I get into the content, let me say this. Grant will be back, okay? He's just under the weather. It's the holidays. He's got sick children and children are disease bags. We've covered this, so I think it's a perpetual cycle, really. But he's under the weather. He's got lots going on. We've all got lots going on. It's the holidays, for God's sake, okay? So just chill, enjoy. It's a fun episode. Obviously, past Dave already recorded it, but to you, he's future Dave. But I had a pleasant time, and I think I did okay. So listen to it. Let me know what you think. Before I tell you what I talk about in this episode, I want to give a major shout out to the Comic Book Shop on 128 Bank Street in Ottawa. You can find them at Comic Book Shop Bank on Instagram or thecomicbookshop.com, shop spelled SHOPPE. And I don't know if this is our last episode of the year or not. It may or may not be, but what I will say is just thank you so much for their continued support. They were our first ever sponsor. They've sponsored us for the entire year, which is absolutely nuts and awesome. It's a huge milestone for us. We really appreciate their support. So please check them out. If you haven't, already, if you listen to us, chances are you'll like, some of their goods, right? They've got anime figurines, they've got manga, comics, obviously, Gundam build kits, magic stuff, they've got a whole great community surrounding them, so I highly recommend that you check them out and let them know that we sent you, okay? Keep this going for us. What do we talk about this week? We do Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 2, Episode 21. Fucking crazy. Pluto, Episode 5. Lots of thoughts on Pluto. There's some fun and not so fun news in this week's episode of the Newsfeed? You know what I mean. The news. And we wrap up on Frieren, episode 15. Another strong one from Frieren. Okay, enjoy this. Grant, you still have to edit this. You're not getting off lightly. Enjoy the episode. If you may hear from us by end of year. And if you don't, we'll see you on the flip side in 2024. Thank you again so much for listening. Enjoy. Ora! Here we are again. Just me and you. I think past David will have likely filled you in on the deal this week. But in short, it's another solo episode. Probably a short one, but it's quality, okay? Not quantity. Really measure the quality of each minute I'm giving you, okay? Because I want to make one thing clear. I'm not exactly on the up and up, pepping, rearing to go. Pepping? There's no pep in my step currently. I am running off of just fumes currently. I'm rolling from a 10-hour workday into this podcast, and I'm not happy about it. I'll tell you that. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not really kidding, but that's okay. We're here. We've made it work. And I want to talk about some anime because it's actually been a particularly great week for anime. There's been some really strong episodes that I've watched, and also there's some interesting stuff in the news, some significant developments. Maybe up top, I don't know if past David will have mentioned this, but one thing worth noting is I think we'll likely take a break next week. It's we're about a week out from Christmas or so, holidays, whatever you celebrate, but I'll be off work and kind of bouncing around all over the place, paying my obligations to my ever-growing blended family. So I've got about 13 dinners to attend in 7 days. It's not a brag, believe me. I'm kidding. Not really. Okay, so Jujutsu Kaisen. Let's start with a heavy hitter, but I will be honest, basically everything today is a bit of a heavy hitter. But this particular episode of Jujutsu is a big one because I'm hoping, I'm not 100% sure, that it's the end of a bit of a... We're at the tail end here of the Mahito saga. I should note, spoiler warning, Season 2, Episode 21, Jujutsu Kaisen. It's been out for nearly a week. By the time you've listened to this, have been out for 6 days. So that's about as much warning as I'm going to give you. So we pick up where we left off. Yuji and Todo versus Mahito. Not a ton is crazy. We're above ground now. Same deal. Mahito is like kind of inventing powers as he goes. But I think, I will actually give the anime a bit of a break here. I think that's kind of the point of Mahito, is that he's a, quote, young curse. I think a lot of his sensibilities are intentionally childlike. I had a bit of a thought this week, and I mean, I've thought it for a while now. I think we've probably talked about it throughout I don't know about season 1. But in season 1, they kind of, add a bit of a preface. I think it's in a sewer scene, and Mahito is talking to Junpei. This is obviously before he turns him into a balloon animal. But he's talking to him about, the origin of all these curses. And these curses being Jogo, Hanami, Mahito himself. They didn't mention Dagon or Dagon back then, because I don't know if he was on screen. But he was talking about, this particular set of curses. And I don't remember the exact lines of the dialogue, but it was something about how great forces of nature had eventually kind of embodied into these particular curses. You don't have to look too far, right? Jogo with the volcano head, Hanami with the Mother Earth kind of thing going on. Mahito, I think, probably a representation of, I don't know, is it all humanity? Like the patchwork face, literally being all the pieces of them, or is he just the hateful, scornful pieces? I don't know, because he is, like I said, very childlike. He's literally learning on the fly. And a few episodes ago, when Jogo bodied Sukuna, or Sukuna bodied Jogo, rather, and they had that kind of white space scene, they had that great line about Mahito kind of being the mirror to humanity, or to death at least. And I don't know, last week you saw it when he learned the Black Flash, when he was kind of really relishing in the fact that he's a curse and that Itadori is his natural enemy, and the rate of his learning is so impressive. He kind of, reaches his, quote, final form in this episode. One thing that I'll note about that is I like what they did with it. He kind of got the Frieza moment. I will say, without 4 episodes of charging the power-up animation. So I appreciate how quickly they got after it. It wasn't nearly as drawn out as other shonens have done. But more than that, I appreciate that it didn't restart the arc when he got, this form change. A lot of shows do this shit. And it's fun the first time you see it, and you're 12. But, I kind of groaned, I should say, when I saw his new form. I was like, oh, fuck me. Is the rest of the season going to be his new unbeatable form, even though he was an inch away from death a minute ago? But it's not. He's on screen for 7 minutes. So I dig the hell out of that. They get to the point, right? He can have this self-actualization evolution moment while also being but at the same time, the fight does need to end. So I like that we kind of got both. I do think above that, though, the highlight, there's a lot of highlights in this episode. One of the highlights is Todo, right? His entrance into season 2 was, I don't want to say overdue, but I think everyone was expecting it. Everyone was very excited for it. And they nailed the entrance. When he saves Yuji, the reveal, the little poem or haiku that he recites, the music, the animation, the immediate fight scene that follows, the clap animations. And then this episode, it's still just moving so fast. And for a second there, they really had me worried, because there's been so many casualties, more than I had thought. Listen to the rest of my solo episodes to hear how my predictions go wrong. That I felt genuine danger for Todo when Mahito pulled out the 0.2 second domain expansion, which I think, again, is just more data on how quickly he's learning, because he saw Gojo do it, a couple hours before, and here he is giving it a go himself. God, he really is like Yuji in that way. It's so interesting. But Todo's, works his way out of the domain expansion, severs the hand. There's that great Takada-chan dance sequence in his imagination. followed by him clapping Mahito's hand in such a dope way. And then the animation, when they show the close-up of his one remaining hand, I don't know, I loved all that. It's so dark. It's a bummer that Boogie Woogie is probably gone. I mean, he says it towards the end of the episode. And then he gets one final kind of amazing misdirect moment where, again, him and Yuji just have this almost brotherly, like, non-verbal communication style where they just know what the other one is going to do. So Toto fakes Mahito out for the last time. I saw a lot of confusion on the reactor circuit because, again, I'm a dork, about like the time lag thing. If you're confused about that, I got it immediately because I'm smarter than you. No, I'm kidding, but because I've seen this on reaction so much. Yuji hits him, and it seems like a glancing blow and that it did nothing. But if you remember back in season 1, like the reason Yuji learns Black Flash is because he was sparring Toto, and he had this like double punch thing in season 1 that was his go-to technique before Black Flash. And I don't think it was intentional back then. It was just he would have the impact of the actual punch, and then his cursed energy would follow a moment later. And it was a little bit tricky. So I think Mahito in that moment was maybe expecting to get hit by just a regular blow, and then the double hit kind of hit him, took him off guard. Toto distracts him with the Boogie Woogie fake out, and then Yuji finishes off with a Black Flash, which then leads to my favorite sequence of the episode, this snow metaphor. I almost wonder if it was literally happening in Mahito's mind, because I would like to remind the audience that we still haven't got closure on what the fuck happened to Choso and who put this image or these fake memories in his brain. Like, I'm thinking this whole winter scene with Yuji and Mahito was likely just entirely metaphorical and artistic, and in that case it was absolutely beautiful. The wolf metaphor, the wolf chasing the rabbit with the busted leg, Mahito with the busted leg. And then I think the climax of that scene is Yuji's stone cold dialogue. Really, really performed well by his voice actor. He has this amazing monologue about, I know who I am now, I know my role in this war. And, you were right, to Mahito, right? Because Mahito's had this whole thing he keeps returning to throughout the series about how him and Yuji are the same. Yuji saves people without a second thought. Mahito kills them without one either. They're kind of this positive and negative of one another. And just this whole monologue about, I'll kill you. I don't care anymore. And if you come back as something else, I'll kill you again. And that's what I'm going to do from now on. And, they remove all the music and the effects of the environment when he says this stuff, and just have the voice actor speak it very clearly and very coldly, which fits the environment in that moment, into the mic. And it's just beautiful stuff. I love it. Mahito, you can see, the way they animate him, and his voice actor, like throughout the entire series, has been unbelievable. Probably one of the better villains I've seen in a long time in anime. Just fantastic work. But you can see Mahito experiencing what seems to be fear for the first time, running for his life. A lot of the time there isn't even dialogue. Like, he's just moaning and screaming. And it's somehow not over the top. That's hard direction. That's hard performance, storyboarding. Like, it's just really, really well done. And then, of course, because every fucking episode has to end on a cliffhanger, it seems this season, Geto shows up. My very brief prediction is that Geto kills Mahito. I mean, I don't think I'm reaching a ton with that, but even if he doesn't, or maybe if you want a funner prediction, maybe he absorbs Mahito in his weakened state because he has cursed manipulation, right? God, look how good I am with the Jujutsu lore this week. I'm really on it. So yeah, maybe he absorbs Mahito and has him do his bidding, or just like eats him, as he tends to do that. But I am worried about, like, what does this mean for Yuji? Like, I would love some clarification or more details on who is Geto, like who's literally puppeteering him at this stage. What's his real name? What's his objective? Now that all these curses are dead or about to be, what's he going to do? What has he done with the prison realm? I'm assuming that means we're shit out of luck as far as saving Gojo goes. We've had so many casualties. We also need closure on what happened to Mei Mei because she was supposed to be fighting him. We need closure on Nobara, Kugisaki. We need... What else? We need the Mei Mei. We need her. I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of loose ends, and I don't think we're going to get answers to a bunch of stuff, but I'm curious. Oh, Maki, that's the other one. What about her? Confirmed Nanami is dead. I'm assuming the other guy who was with them is dead, but Maki, I think, is maybe not. I don't know. We don't have a corpse, as they say. Same with Nobara. They kind of left that door open a little bit. I think there's only 23 episodes, so maybe 2 left. That is a decent amount of time, depending on the pacing. Do not give me another fucking 14-minute flashback when there's dozens of questions I want answered, but, they're going to do what they're going to do. I think the last thing I'll say on this, and I think I've said it before, is this season has been so explosive and so intense, has made so many changes. I am very curious about how the rest of the series is handled. Like, do they keep this level of quality up? Grant has kind of said, like, the Shibuya incident is kind of regarded as, like, the big, like, maybe peak level Jujutsu Kaisen. If that is true, and if that is the case, like, it's not hard to see why. This has been an absurd level of just plot development. Can they continue to punch at this rate? I don't know. I don't know. Lots of questions remaining, but I guess we're going to see. Okay, Pluto, episode 5. I filmed a TikTok on this today. Find us on TikTok at Part-Time Otaku Podcast. That's right. We're on the talk. We're conversing with the youths. We're out here churning out content, as they say. I'm trying to do one a week. I often discuss podcasts. Yeah, I often promote other anime podcasts. No, I do not. Okay. I often discuss shows that we discuss on the podcast there. But not necessarily, like, it's not the same content, right? Like, this week I talk about Pluto, but other times, I've talked about shows we haven't even covered, like... I did one on Death Note and what people think about the first half versus the second half. I did one on Sunny Boy and why people should watch it. And, there's lots of Castlevania, an overview. So check that out. Let us know what you think. Give it a follow, if you will. And, of course, on Instagram as well. But as far as Pluto goes, episode 5 was a relatively big one. It feels like since episode 3, which I think was its worst or at least most dense episode, the show's kind of kicking into high gear now that I'm past the halfway mark. We've had a number of revelations in episode 5. Geshet has found kind of some of his false or missing memories of him actually committing murder. He saves Adolf, who was targeted by, the cult he was originally serving. Hercules fights Pluto and is killed. Epsilon retrieves kind of his memory stick and says, I think this is a bit of an animeism, he detected the genre of hatred among the electromagnetic waves emanating from their fight. Bit of a stretch, but anime. Uran, Adam's sister, has a side quest scene where she's just detecting sadness and trying to solve the problems of people that she can feel it emanating from, which I appreciate. And I think the biggest kind of reveals are towards the end of the episode. It's Dr. Tenma and kind of his origin story. He reveals a bit about the robots that he's created. We also learned that he had a son that looked like Adam that was killed in a car accident, which makes me think it's why Adam was created, maybe. And then he, not in so many words, but I think he kind of reveals that he created, quote, the ultimate robot that he never really got to awaken, which I'm guessing is Pluto, which was then manipulated by, I don't know what, Professor Abula. There's so many character names, and some that we haven't seen in quite a while that it's difficult to keep track. I mentioned, my TikTok, and I'll mention it here. I think we talked about it last week, but I really, really, really feel like the 1 hour runtime of these episodes hurts the show. I get that it's not a typical anime, like the production quality rather, is way above what a typical anime would be. But I sincerely think cramming as much as they do into a 1 hour episode is ultimately to the detriment of the show. The amount of notes you have to take to try and keep up. and I don't mean like just me for the podcast, like your average viewer. Like there's what, 5 subplots in this show with as many major characters that you need to keep track of. There's political motivations. There's the whole robot human conflict in general, robots' place in society. Like they're doing a lot of different things, and I think it's just too much to try and keep track of over the course of 60 minutes. If you break this thing up into 22-minute episodes, 8 times 3 is what, 24? You end up with a 24 episode season, which is normal, a little bit more bite size. This last episode I had to watch in 2 goes because I had too much going on. Not that, and like, don't, hate on me for like the whole an hour is too much time to demand. Like, I'm still here for hour-long content. It's just that I think it tends to be, live action stuff that's oriented that way, and I don't know. I feel like it's just too dense. It's too dense. So I don't know, but it's such a shame because I fucking love this show. Like, I really do, but it's hard to get through the whole hour sometimes. There's just so much going on. I don't know. I'm really curious if anyone else has this complaint, because I know that Pluto was really, really well received. I wonder, part of me wonders, like, it seems to have been well received by, like, the quote mainstream public. And I wonder if part of that is like they're not used to the 22-minute typical runtime. I don't know. But if you're an anime fan and you've watched Pluto, let us know. Like, do you think this is an issue? Do you not? I don't know. But, overall the plot is, I think, becoming a little bit more concentrated. We're approaching, I think, the some kind of ultimate confrontation. Characters are starting to matter more. They're gaining a lot of depth. I really love Greshit. I really hope Adam comes back. They had a whole plot. They had a number of scenes of trying to revive him and how he may come back a little bit more like Pluto as a result of kind of being knocked out. I don't know. But he was a really fun character, and I was really surprised when they killed him off, but I also kind of figured it would be with the intent of bringing him back later. And I'm only basing that off of, like, him being on every poster. Unless it was, like, just a legit total misdirect, which I'm fine with, too. So I guess we'll see. Okay. Shall we talk some news? I think so. I'm seeing rumors. I mean, I don't know if they're rumors so much as, like, the mangaka for Jujutsu Kaisen is saying that it's may be ending in 2024. And, further to our discussion earlier about how do you keep the quality level up on Jujutsu, like, after this arc, I'm really curious what subsequent arcs look like and how they're going to inform the ending. What is the ending? How does the series wrap up? How far are we from where it currently is? And, will they stick the landing? Like, we just had one of the biggest ones, ever with Attack on Titan, which was just so marred by their release schedule and naming conventions, at least as far as the anime goes. But the quality itself, I think people are pretty damn happy with. So, I think the big thing is you just don't want to see it get dragged out, right? I just don't want to, I don't know, find myself coming up on my 7th season and being like, yeah, I don't know if we're anywhere near the end. Smooth segue, My Hero Academia Season 7 coming in May 2024. Yeah, I don't know, man. So I think we enjoyed Season 6. I think the low point was like Season 5. But Season 6 was fun. Things were actually happening, and it felt like the plot was rapidly speeding up. So if Season 7 is Season 7, I don't know how close we are to it ending, but, like, I think I'm at the point in my relationship with My Hero that, like, I will watch it when it's on. I don't know if we'll cover it on the show, because I don't know if it really requires that. Maybe we'll mention it, like, as large beats kind of unfold, but I don't know. I'll tune in, but I'm not on bated breath. I don't know if it's gonna, change do anything major. It kind of is what it is. It's such a specific thing at this stage because it's been on for so long. Big news on Chainsaw Man. They're doing a movie, the Reese arc, I think they're calling it. I think 2024 is what they said. Like, probably late, if not 25, I'm guessing, but I'm pretty sure it's 2024. But it's a movie, and they're doing a specific arc for the movie. It's very reminiscent of Demon Slayer Mugen Train. It seems like that's how they're going to go. I haven't seen confirmation yet. What I'm hoping is that, this arc they're going to do in a movie just follows the events of season 1. They then do the movie, and then they pick up from the movie for season 2. Like similar to Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen. I will go to a movie to see Chainsaw Man. I bet a lot of other people will too. Saw some of the key art. Looks good. I saw a little synopsis floating around. I don't know. Seems exciting. I would prefer, obviously, like the anime come back, just because we would get more content paced out. But I'm fine with this too, and I'm curious how long it'll be, and distribution-wise, like Demon Slayer did eventually get over here, but it took a while for Mugen Train to get over here, so I'm hoping we don't see, international release issues, but who knows? I don't know if any of that is like already confirmed or TBD, but let's just hope we get a North American release relatively shortly after the one out there, and we'll just see how it goes. In some confounding news, Matt Reeves is making an Arkham series within the DC universe. This is confirmed by James Gunn on Twitter, which he likes to confirm random things on Twitter. Imagine having the power to do that, by the way. Like, I saw a clip of I think it was George Lucas on, like, Colbert, maybe, years ago. Or he was on some talk show or at some event with a live audience where someone was saying, oh, what planet is Obi-Wan from? And he goes, I have decided it's this. That is now the canon. And he, like, kind of pulls something out of his ass. It's like a pun he makes. And that must be so fun. As, like, the creator or holder of all things, like, I guess that's Dave Filoni now over at Lucasfilm, or at Lucasfilm, which is, Disney. But, I don't know. I think James Gunn has fun with this because he seems to, like, cherry pick. I mean, obviously, because he probably gets so much inbound on Twitter about, random questions. Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? But, yeah, he has confirmed in a series of tweets that Matt Reeves is going to continue to work closely with the DCU, and he's going to do the second Batman project, which will remain a standalone. So, like, there's still no changes as far as the Robert Pattinson second movie goes. From what I've heard, I don't even know if they've finished a script yet. But I don't know. I see rumors flying around, and I hope they're not real. But the guy who played the Joker in that deleted scene of the first Batman that they did is, like, doing wink, wink, nudge, nudge in the press that, like, I can't say anything, but, I think my smile gives it away about, like, whether he'll be involved. And I just really hope they don't do a Joker movie. That first Batman movie was so damn good. And, Paul Dano had a big part of that for sure, the Riddler, but, like, also just the tone that they went for. I have no doubt that Matt Reeves could make a great Joker Batman movie. It's just not what I think we need. I'm not a DC aficionado in any way, but I know that there are a shitload more villains that they can pull from. And we've had so many Jokers in the last several years. There have been 3-4 people to play the Joker in the last, half decade? I think we need to gain some distance from it. Joaquin just won an Oscar for it. Like, let it breathe. And they're doing a second one too. Like, let's not have an opportunity for DC to put out a movie where the Joker is played by 2 different people in the span of 18 months. Like, let's just not do that. Because I don't want to have to explain it to people, I think they must know that. I don't know. Speaking of major studios making big moves, I mean, this is a big story in many ways, but Jonathan Majors was found guilty, I think, of assault towards his spouse, amongst other things. And then the moment they read the guilty verdict, Disney fired him. So now there's tons of questions about what happens to Kang and the Kang universe and everything that they have had planned. I didn't follow this case super closely. I do know that I saw I don't know if his case was streamed. Like I remember like the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing was streamed, and that like made cultural waves. But I know that a lot about the case made its rounds on the internet about how bad his defense was and how damning some of the leaked texts were from him. Trying to hide evidence of abuse. I mean, now he's found guilty, so clearly, seems he was guilty of what he was accused of. And I mean, losing Kang, probably the least of his problems, but probably a pretty big gut punch. He was about to be the next Thanos, and to be fair, on a bit of a sinking ship, but that's what you get. So, curious. I mean, I think that's his career is shot. Curious to see what Marvel does. That I think the consensus online is like, hey, like, don't try to rewrite everything at the 11th hour. Just recast Kang. I think the character is so intentionally diverse that there are versions of him everywhere. Just cast a different one and don't mention it. I mean, if they have the opportunity to do that, this seems like if they're going to do that ever, this seems like a pretty ready-made character to do that with, right? And God, I hated his fucking performance. All that aside, I don't know if you guys remember the Loki finale. God, that was dog shit. The season 1 Loki finale. Fuck, I hated everything about his choices in that episode. Is just atrocious. Okay. Speaking of atrocious, well, I don't know. I'm not going to jump the gun on this one, but Code Geass has revealed that they're doing a 4-part movie sequel. So I've seen the series. Grant has not. But, it's lauded as having, one of the better anime endings out there. It's 2 short and sweet, not short, but 2 seasons. So it's definitely not dragged out. It has a pretty iconic ending that I will not give away in case Grant listens to this, or in case you're listening to this and you haven't seen it. But I think it's considered a bit of a classic. I highly recommend it. But what they did that I know was not popular is after the series was done, which I think, again, its ending was critically acclaimed or relatively well received. But there are major character deaths leading up to the finale and or in the finale. I will say no more. But then they do a movie after that in a quote, alternate reality or alternate dimension where like these main characters are not dead. And I guess these additional 4 movies that they're going to make are going to take place in that universe. So it's like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like Neon Genesis, to be fair. Like, it's like, watch the series and then EOE. And if you're really hungry for more, go watch these extra movies that they're going to churn out that are like kind of connected, but not really, but also a retelling, but also in an alternate timeline. So it's like, I don't know. At the end of the day, if you're super hungry for more Code Geass content, it's on its way. I don't know if I'll watch it, but that's not because I'm like high and mighty. It's just, I don't know if I'll get around to it. Okay. Speaking of questionable decisions, they're remaking One Piece. I don't understand this. But, One Piece I don't think is really for me to begin with because I like good shows. Just kidding. Everybody fucking chill. I just can't watch something that's 1,000 episodes. I just can't do it. But they're remaking it. They're remaking it on Netflix, and it's going to be done by Wit Studio. So I think both of those things are good. Netflix is clearly invested, both figuratively and literally, in One Piece. It seems to have had universally just about good reviews on their live-action series, so they kind of broke that curse, which is great. I guess my question is, what's the long-term goal with remaking One Piece? Is it like they're going to remake all existing 1,000 episodes plus the ending? Will there be a period where the original one runs simultaneous to the remake? That's weird. Is the original going to end ever? I Googled it, briefly before this, and it seems like, oh yeah, they're going to do it this year, but like, are they just saying that? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with the remake. I will say, I remember loving Dragon Ball Kai, Dragon Ball Z Kai, but I don't think that's this. It might be cool if they did that though, like remove all the filler, punch up the animation a little bit, Now that, make it a little more modern, I guess. I don't know, but I'm intrigued. This, I will say though, might be like my entry point to the series. Like, what if they put this thing out and it's 20 episodes for the first season? Like, 20 is a hell of a lot more manageable than 1,000. So I don't know. Maybe there are people like me out there, or maybe they're banking on that. Like that. There's probably a relatively large and growing anime audience, and a subsect of which don't want to start a 1,000 episode journey. So I don't know. I think there are a lot of angles on this, many of which I'm sure I'm not thinking of in this moment. But it is interesting news. It's not something I saw coming. So yeah. Okay, Frieren. God. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, episode 15. That's it for news. Let's talk about this. It's a great episode. This is damn great. This is some Grant I bet would love, and this is normally something that Grant would love and I would shit all over because I'm a shitty person. But, a couple things I think that they note in this episode. It's officially been 4 years since Frieren has teamed up with Fern, and 1 year since they've teamed up with Stark. The soundtrack in this episode is just gorgeous. I absolutely love what they did with the sound. We make it to a new city in this episode. Sign is like very quickly becoming one of the, not really Three Musketeers, but like one of the core four, as you might call it. They're running out of money, so, of course we pick up a little side quest. And of course that side quest is like 3 months long, but time doesn't matter if you're Frieren, but it does for everybody else, of course. Stark has to play, the role of like some guy's dead son, which is interesting. Adam vibes, actually. Pluto, speaking of which. But there's a great little scene of Stark and Fern having to learn kind of royal etiquette. And it's genuinely a sweet and endearing scene. They have this little dance. And I don't know, it's a bit of a feel-good episode. This kind of stuff doesn't normally work on me. But I strongly feel that Frieren is bucking a lot of trends in this genre that and just executing at a higher level than a lot of its peers. I don't know. There are a lot of shows that I think people are going to say Frieren is like, and then I try to watch them and I go, this isn't what I want, or it's not as good. You know what I mean? I think this is setting a hell of a bar. I'm so happy that there's several more episodes of this show coming. I'm going to watch it through the holidays. I don't know if there's a break or not, but this has been one of the like delights of the year for me. I don't know. I've been having an absolute ton of fun watching Frieren. We also get a bit of confirmation that I think Stark's home village was destroyed. I think we kind of inferred that when when we saw him leave it behind. Apart from the whole Stark Fern thing, there's a great little Sign and Frieren versus a like sleep curse plant monster in this episode. The whole sleep thing was kind of neat. I don't know, man. I really dug it. Another great episode from Frieren. I want to know what Grant thought of it, but I'm hoping he feels better soon and he'll be here to join us. Like I said, probably going to be taking at least a 1 week break. It's the holidays. I've got 37 people to see, all of whom I'm going to disappoint with a very poor and last minute selection of gifts, but that's fine because it's the company that matters, or so they tell me. God, I wonder if we're going to do another one before the end of the year. I hope so, because we have to say thank you in some way, shape, or form. But if not, thank you for listening. It's been crazy. 2023, huge shout out to the Comic Book Shop for sponsoring us the entire year. This has been so fun. If you started listening this year, thanks for joining us. It's been really fun. We had that Spotify Wrapped thing happen a few weeks back. It was great to see the growth and where everybody is listening from. We have no intention of stopping. I know, we've been a little bit, hit or miss here with Grant, but he's got a lot going on. He's a father. I've got nothing going on. You know what I mean? That's not true. I have 2 shitty cats. But, that's almost the same. I don't know. But we're not going anywhere in 2024. If anything, I think we're only going to pick up. We've been talking about adding video to the podcast for a while. Maybe we'll get around to doing that. But if not, I think our social media game is going to continue to pick up. Check us out on TikTok, Instagram. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're probably there. We also upload the audio to YouTube now, so you can find us there. Again, thank you for listening. Shout out to the Comic Book Shop. We will be doing some kind of like a top 5 anime of 2023, I'm guessing. We've done it the last year or two, so we'll probably do that in January. I think we got to do more movie reviews too. It was great to see that, in the Spotify Wrap thing, that like a bunch of people were really big on the Paprika movie review. That was awesome to see. So thank you for listening. Grant's not here, so I will say thank you guys. Cheers.